A federal watchdog says the U.S. government is violating its own rules in regard to deporting veterans. The U.S. Government Accountability Office issued a report last week. It outlines how Immigration and Customs Enforcement does not adhere to its policies for how to correctly handle these cases, nor does it consistently identify and track, quote, potentially removable former service members. In a recent piece for the Washington Post, Alex Horton outlines how ICE deported veterans while unaware it was required to carefully screen them. And Alex Horton joins me now. He is a general assignment reporter for the Washington Post. He previously covered the military and national security for Stars and Stripes. He's also a veteran of the Iraq War himself. Alex, thanks so much for being with us. If you could lay out what requirements Immigration and Customs Enforcement has actually been ignoring.
Well, they're required to do two things, Elaine. The first thing to do when they encounter a veteran that may be subject to removal is they're supposed to screen and potentially look at any mitigating factors to keep them in the country. That's things like their health, their prior military service, any awards they received for deployments, things of that nature. The GAO report found they were not doing that. They also found that in about 70% of cases that they looked at, that those decisions weren't elevated to a higher office when they were supposed to. So there was multiple levels here of where ICE was unaware of its own policies and then also not following them to begin with.
Well, so how does something like that happen?
I mean, it's really unclear. I mean, the case of deported veterans has been kind of shrouded for years now, and advocates have been saying all along that the system is opaque, that veterans are being taken and deported without any kind of special considerations. And also the report concluded what advocates have been saying for years is that no one knows how big this problem is. One advocate I talked to said he estimates about 2,000 veterans have been deported, but he's not really sure. And the GAO report confirmed that ICE really doesn't know either.
So this GAO report is called Actions Needed to Better Handle, Identify, and Track Cases Involving Veterans. What specific steps were outlined to actually address this problem?
So there's a few things they can do. One, they could better track veterans that come into their system. They found that ICE agents weren't accurately denoting their service. They're including some software where it's going to be included in some fields. And also they're going to retrain people on the policy when they get former service members in their care. Now they are supposed to, as they were all along, supposed to elevate to higher authorities to sign off on the decision.
Well, your article lays out that, quote, the military until recently quickly naturalized soldiers before they could deploy and possibly die for the country without being a citizen. That fast-track process was halted last year. Do we know why? And what does the process to become a citizen entail now?
So it's a bit unclear why those fast tracks were halted. So USCIS had naturalization offices at Army installations. So a recruit who wasn't a citizen can go in and they could go through the process in a matter of weeks. The Pentagon has changed the rules now on several ways an immigrant can enlist in the military, to where you have to serve for 180 days on active duty before you can apply in a year if you're in the reserves. So that was done for a complicated set of reasons, most of which are the recruiting pipelines that they are now very heavily scrutinizing. That has become an issue because now there are thousands of people that are still waiting to get into the military, and some of them are on student visas that have expired, or they're on work visas that have expired. So, they're waiting so long for this backlog to clear that they are filing out of status simply because the Pentagon hasn't gotten them fast enough.
Well, finally, you report that ICE does not know precisely how many veterans it has deported. Is there any real way to gauge how widespread the problem is?
I mean, it might be impossible at this point. I mean, they could start tomorrow and document how many veterans they remove. And that's sort of the issue here is, a lot of these veterans assume that citizenship is automatic once they enlist, but it's not. It's a manual process they have to go through. And one thing that's kind of clear here, this has been a problem for a long time. If there's anything that, the administrations for George W. Bush and the Obama and now the Trump administrations agree is that they're deporting veterans. So this has been going on for the better part of a decade and a half, at least. So we're going to see more of these folks deported back where they came from. And until now, we simply can't get a grip on how big that problem really is.
All right, we'll continue to watch it. Certainly a very eye-opening report. Alex Horton. Alex, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.